Good evening. I'm Wolfman, and I write stories. I am currently working on 4 or 5 projects, but the next one, the one that's in the editing phase, is called If You're Suffering, Just Give Up. And I'm hoping to have that one ready to publish within the next couple of months. My first book is available on Amazon, and it is called First Tell the Truth. My name, first name Wolf, last name Man, 2 N's. This is a story out of that book. That book is a collection of original short stories and philosophical essays. And I really enjoy the way that it goes back and forth between the imaginary and the conceptual and activates both sides of your brain. So we get into, deep thinking for a moment, and then we get into dream. And we get to give the thinking mind a little bit of a break and play in the imaginary space. And so I think the experience of the book is a bit unique and enjoyable in that way. Left brain, right brain. A nice little experience. Anyway, this story is one of the short stories, and it is called The Origin of a Story. Without further ado. There once was a story that didn't know what it was. This did not bother the story, because it didn't know it was supposed to be something. It was a formless spirit of great potential, gliding down from the heavens to gently touch the mountaintop with what might eventually be a tail, a toe, a talon. As it rested lightly on the mountaintop, a great wind rose up to greet it. Winds are often the first beings to meet such spirits when they come down from heaven, and many of the spirits decide that they must be winds as well. And that is generally where winds come from. So, as is traditional, the great wind called out, "Hello, little wind." The spirit was more discerning. "I am no wind," she said, for this wind had an air of masculinity about it, and she had become a she in rebellion against it. "My apologies, but nothing else is as light as the wind except light, and nothing is as transparent as the wind except water, and you seem to be both, and I thought you must be a wind," explained the great wind. Upon hearing this, she became a little bit less transparent, and a tiny bit heavier, just enough to feel that you might be able to see her, just enough to keep her tail or toes or talons on the ground. "Ah!" she exclaimed, "but there are things faster than the wind." And with that, she ran or flew or slithered down the mountain faster than the wind could follow. And the great old wind soon gave up the chase and went off to scour some hillsides and knock down some dead trees and branches until it forgot about the story that was starting to learn what it was. And so the story came to a river. The river was called Mother. The river was full of river nymphs and poems. The river called Mother loved her river nymphs and her poems. All poems come from the water, and some of the greatest poems had developed in this very river before they went off to find Rumi and Hafiz and Theodore Geisel. Mother greeted the story. "Hello, lovely little one. Are you one of my daughters? Are you a nymph? Are you a poem?" "No, Mother," she said. "I am no nymph and I am no poem. Although, if you hear me, you might indeed think parts of me are poetic." And the story stayed 3 days with the river called Mother, and talked with her and her nymphs, and hung out with the poems, and over time she became a little bit blue and a little bit liquid, and developed her poetic parts. After 3 days, the story who was learning what she was left the river and found her way into a deep, dark forest. In the middle of the forest, she found the elder tree. The tree was the oldest in the world. It had thousands of rings. It had seen empires rise and fall. It had seen heroes pass by. And the villains that they fled from were chased. It had sheltered and supported holy men who had sat beneath its boughs and awakened. It had many stories, and no need to say anything. Our story approached the elder tree. The tree just smiled, the way old trees do, which saints and children and madwomen can see. "Hello, elder tree," said the story. "Are you not going to try to tell me what I am, or ask?" "Oh no," chuckled the tree. "I can see what you are clearly, and I'm certain that you'll figure it out in due time." "What am I, then?" demanded the story, enticed by the fact that the tree had not tried to entice her. "Well, if you really want my perspective," said the tree, "I can see you are a bit blue, a tad liquid, and peripherally poetic. I can see clearly that you are a feminine spirit, and most of all, it is plain to me that you are a story. You see, I've been planted on this spot for almost 5,000 years, and I've collected many stories. I know a good story when I see one." "And am I a good story?" she asked, amused. "That is yet to be determined," the tree told her. "Depends on who tells you, I suspect. I could make a recommendation on what type of storyteller to seek out. Or if you like, you can stay here, and no doubt some fine storyteller will come out here to listen someday, sooner or later." "I would like to stay a while," said the story, "but not forever. Tell me what I should seek if I must leave before a storyteller finds me here." "Well, you know," said the tree, "if I were a story, I would want to be told by a storyteller whose... I would want to be told by a storyteller with shoes whose soles were worn thin. Man, woman, makes no difference, so long as they have a little fire in their belly that shows through their eyes. Shows out through their eyes as a rascal gleam. I'd look for someone who was never completely serious, but never completely joking, with the slightest curl to the corner of their mouth. Gray hair wouldn't be a requirement, but it would go a long way towards convincing me that they could tell me right. I'd want a teller who had hands calloused by musical instrument, a rubber face that could change from cherubic innocence to deeply diabolical as easily as the sun sets. A bard with a voice like a retired opera singer, who drank maybe a little too much whiskey and smoked a pipe. I'd look for a yarn spinner who listens more than they talk, and speaks with power and calculated spontaneity. But most of all, said the tree, find one that tells the truth. The story took this advice to heart and spent several months with the elder tree, listening to the woods, getting familiar with the other stories, some epic, some very folksy, even a bawdy one. She developed her arcs and devices and characters, and hoped that a storyteller like the tree had described would come along to take her away. So the story stayed with the elder tree for 1 month, but no great storyteller came. The story stayed with the elder tree for 3 months, and no great storyteller came, nor any good yarn spinner. Not even a mediocre anecdotist. So the story determined to set out in the world to find a storyteller that could tell her right. She visited great cities. In the great cities, she visited pubs and squares and libraries, street corners, hearths, ditches, parks, and courtrooms, but she found no one who told the truth from experience. So she visited temples and hermitages, and she found some well-respected pundits, and priests and scholars, and even saints and true holy men. But though she found some who told the truth, and some who spoke well, and even one who told the truth from experience, she found no one who had developed the art of storytelling. So she went to the countryside, rebuffed but not defeated. Searching the farms and hamlets, she found many good men and women, girls and boys, most with callous hands, but not from instruments, many who drank whiskey and smoked pipe, but few who sang. She even found storytellers, but none of them quite fit the bill. One day, our story was falling asleep, despairing of finding the right one to tell her, when she heard a sound, a deep, kind of rhythmic sound. Ha-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, ha-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, ha-da-dum, da-da-dum, 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 da-da-dum. And then a whistle from a hand-carved flute. All the while, the drum still tapped out the beat, and some singing, deep and weathered, and finally, the cadence of a whiskey-soaked story, the words as yet indistinguishable from this distance, while the drum beat on. She got up, she smoothed her garments, which at this point covered legs more than tail or talons, and went to find the source of the sweet sound. Da-da-dum, 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 da-da-dum went the drum, and she honed in on it. Having a hard time whistling. Went the flute, like an abnormally talented owl as she got closer. Hey-oh, hey-oh, sang the voice as she crept up. And then, that is all I know, finished the craggy... Cat wants to be part of the experience. You really don't mind knocking over anything. You just don't pay attention at all, do you? You're lucky you're adorable. Where was I? Hey-oh, sang the voice as she crept up. And then, that is all I know, finished the craggy, smooth, smoky, textured voice, as the other story finished, and the teller let off his drum, and she got close enough to see him. And there he was, gorgeous. Curly beard, wrinkled clothes and hat, soft, well-worn boots, eyes gleaming with rascality, as he basked in the glory of a story well told, and the adoration of the gathered crowd. There, applauding him, were squirrels and fawn and field mouse, imp, gnome, and sliffs, a moth or five, a baby bear, and a couple of vagabonds. He sat, enjoying work well done, looking almost, but not quite serious, with a tiny curl to the left corner of his mouth. A little salt in his beard, but hair, mostly pepper. He spoke to the gathered forest and fairy creatures with a voice like brushed leather, melodic, smooth and scratchy than smooth, his face communicating what would have taken Charles Dickens 8 pages to write. Well, friends, that's all for the night. I shall return tomorrow, and every day thereafter, a good night. This was the one. She had found her storyteller. She stayed hidden as his audience mingled and came up to thank him, and as the fires slowly died and then went away. Then she followed him to his cabin. It was small, well-built, and tidy. He went inside, and she behind him, as quiet and as invisible as could be. And he, exhausted, kicked off his boots, hung his hat and coat, flopped on the bed, falling immediately asleep. She wasted no time crawling in his ear, and finding her way into his brain, where she found herself in a dream, if not having become a dream herself. It took some time for this to affect his body, but it did eventually, and he sat bolt upright, searching frantically for a candle. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, he lit the candle, found his pencil and pad, and began to write the story. And the story he wrote was called Stephen and the Jackfruit. The end. Hope you enjoyed that. Again, that's Origin of a Story, and it's out of the book First Tell the Truth by Wolfman. My pen name spelled WOLF space Mann. You can find that on Amazon. And I will see you when I see you, if I see you.